The USA Gymnastics sexual abuse scandal continues to grow, and Friday, in a court victory for the newspaper, the Indianapolis Star, a Georgia judge released more than 5,600 pages of Federation documents and depositions. This after the Star's reporting on the culture at USA Gymnastics, where former official physician Larry Nassar stands criminally accused of sexually assaulting and abusing many young gymnasts. A number of gymnasts have spoken publicly, first on 60 Minutes and here on Outside the Lines, about Nassar and what they say was a lack of oversight by gymnastics officials.
He was abusing me in my own room, in my own bed, and no one was checking to see if he was there alone or not. And none of the other coaches were around making sure that he wasn't in the room alone. They didn't do anything to protect us athletes there.
Money and medals are always placed ahead of the athlete's well-being.
The issues with USAG and their child protection policies, they're not limited to Nassar. It really is a cultural problem at USAG.
The culture they created in USA Gymnastics was very intimidating. You know, is based on fear.
If you speak out and break ranks, all of a sudden you're ostracized. They make the other people turn on you, and they start poisoning the minds of the other gymnasts to seem that you are in the wrong somehow.
Now, in light of the newly released documents, I conveyed specific questions to USA Gymnastics last evening. The organization responded less than an hour to airtime today as to why the Federation described the Indianapolis Star being on a, quote, witch hunt in court filings. This is the response from the Federation. The Indianapolis Star has engaged in selective reporting, including failing to report certain information from law enforcement regarding USA Gymnastics' efforts to protect gymnasts and prosecute criminal activity by anyone, particularly former coach members. We believe the Star has failed to present an impartial perspective or an accurate account on USA Gymnastics' handlings of these matters, being predisposed to a certain message and outcome negative to USA Gymnastics. Now, as to the Federation's fight to keep these documents private and the questions about whether it publicized the names of banned coaches, the Federation said, quote, the administrative files regarding misconduct are internal to the organization and kept confidential to protect the privacy of the individuals involved. USA Gymnastics has published a list of individuals permanently ineligible for membership since 1990 and was the first national governing body to do so. And Steve Penny, who is the president and the CEO of USA Gymnastics, issued a statement to Outside the Lines, and it says in part, the health and well-being of our athletes is our priority, and over the years, we have strengthened our policies, practices, education, and outreach to promote a safe environment. Penny has been in charge of that organization for 12 years. Attorney John Manley represents a number of former gymnasts who have brought civil suits in this matter. He joins us today. Thank you, John, for being here. We just got that response, as I said, less than an hour to airtime. You've had a chance to hear some of those responses. What do you make of what USA Gymnastics is saying today?
Well, you know, if you just substituted Catholic bishop for USA Gymnastics, it sounds like we're talking about the Catholic Church in 2002. The Archdiocese of Boston, I was involved in some of those cases, and in California, blamed the Boston Globe for their boy rape scandal. This is a page right out of the Catholic Church's playbook. So, you know, if you like the Catholic bishop's position on sexual abuse in the early 2000s, you'll like USA Gymnastics. The bottom line is that USA Gymnastics grossly failed children. In the instance of Larry Nassar, USA Gymnastics admits in June of 2015 it knew that he was potentially a child molester. Instead of following Texas law and Indiana law, which require that they immediately report, they didn't do anything for 5 weeks except conduct their own investigation. And we now know from the documents released by the Indy Star that they didn't have any training on investigation, on how to investigate.
Yeah, what protocol should have been in place there?
The protocol was the law. In Texas, where this instance where 2 national team members reported that Dr. Nassar had touched their vaginas and placed his hand inside their vaginas, the first thing you do, doesn't take a rocket scientist, pick up the phone and call the police. That's what you're supposed to do. And then when that was reported in Indianapolis to Steve Penny, personally, he should have picked up the phone and called the police. He didn't do it. In fact, he lied about it. in September, when Jamie Dancher first filed her lawsuit, when we filed that lawsuit, USAG put out a statement saying they immediately called law enforcement. And then in February last month, they changed their story and said, oh yeah, we waited 5 weeks. You're in charge of thousands of little girls and boys who are in gymnastics, and you're lying about child abuse. And you've got, 54 coaches accused of abuse, 6 national team coaches accused of abuse and banned.
In a
and
phrase,
you're still
I've got
lying
about 15
about
seconds. Your best estimate, your learned estimate, how many gymnasts are involved here, do you believe, over the years?
Oh, hundreds. With Nassar alone, at this point, my firm alone represents 75. There's over 100 that have gone to law enforcement. So it's hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands.
The dimensions of the problem.
It's
Attorney John
awful.
Manley, I appreciate you joining us today. Thank you. And again, we did have statements today issued by USA Gymnastics.